Hi, my name is Jaisa, and I'm going to be presenting the position that no, the cry it out method is not emotionally harmful to infants, obviously, when used in the correct manner. Why do parents use different methods with their children in regards to sleep? If you ever speak to any parent about how bedtime is surrounding a child, you're more than likely to hear about many struggles and their difficulties. Parents go through a lot. They go through extreme stress and sleep deprivation. And over time, parents have adapted different techniques in order to help their child sleep better. When it comes to the cry it out method, what exactly is this? The cry it out method is a sleeping technique in which parents use in order to help the baby learn to put themselves to sleep. This method includes letting them cry after putting them in bed in order to stop the crying during their regular bedtime. This method is about self-soothing and eliminating crying by simply not giving the infant a reaction. It begins with putting a drowsy infant to bed, making sure their needs are taken care of beforehand, and letting time do its thing. So making sure they're fed, and making sure they're clean and dry and making sure that they're not crying because of that is part of this method. It's not to simply just ignore their needs. This is a real life example of how the cry it out method was used. As you can see, the child is put to bed after crying for a while. What do many parents believe about the cry it out method? When it comes to the cry it out method, there is so much controversy and confusion. Many parents believe this method is inhumane to infants and in a way just treating them as an ignorance. The biggest complaint is about the stress and attachment issues that children and parents could end up with. When you think about being ignored as a person you are now, you can think about the stress that it causes you, and as a parent, you don't want to imagine yourself doing that. When it comes to infants ignoring their crying, could just result them to stop their crying, but still need help, but just because they think they're not getting help, they just stop crying and you're just never going to know when they need help. This is what many parents believe comes with the cried out method and even many medical officials. It's an extremely controversial topic about whether or not this is genuinely ethical or not. There has been scientific studies proving that the cried out method isn't exactly what it seems like. According to the Michigan Medicine, an article written by in an article written by the University of Michigan, a study was done with babies in Australia. The study was in between babies who their parents partook in the cry it out method to help them sleep versus babies who weren't using it and using other different methods to sleep, including the parents being there or not. The babies who had no other option but to self-soothe because of the cry it out method showed no emotional attachment or issues a year after being studied. This proves that over the long term and in the long run, this doesn't necessarily affect the child. In fact, the infants that partook in the cry it out method had a lower cortisol level, which is a stress hormone, than the infants who were attended to while they were crying. These scientific studies were done between 10 to 20 babies and basically studied them after being being treated with different methods, and showed that necessarily over time it's not what most people had thought about or seemed to prove. Overall, the benefits of the method, disregarding all the controversy about this method, if the child takes well to this method and learns to self-soothe better, then their sleep is dramatically improved. And then with this better sleep that the child gets, better sleep comes from the parents. And as a parent that is very sleep deprived, if you begin to get better sleep because your child is finally sleeping, that means you can have better mental health overall. And with better mental health, obviously, the baby grows up in a better environment and more controlled environment where their parents aren't crashing out due to the fact that they're so exhausted, and they're able to be more energized and ready to take care of the baby. Another addition to this method, along with sleep-wise, is that the adjustment period is a lot shorter to other methods in regards to sleeping methods. So as soon as the baby gets the hand of this method and starts to understand that they are going to need to depend on themselves to self-soothe, the period in which they adjust to this is a lot shorter. The baby, along with all of these other things, their developmental skills are already unconsciously going, so the baby is advanced, and when it comes to developing other skills, they will be equipped to know how to adjust to these developmental skills. The overall conclusion is, as a parent, to do whatever you feel is best. Some children take to this method better than others, so it is important as a parent that you see what best fits for you and your child both. Disregarding the opinion that the cry it out method is emotionally damaging to the child, it's important, since there's no evidence necessary to prove that long-term effects would happen. As a parent, it is important to do what's best in your interest and in your child's interest. Reading about other people's experiences overall definitely proves to show that it really just depends on how you feel as a mother and learning about your child and their needs. If a child seems to not respond to this method at all, it's obviously don't push it upon them, but learn to be able to see what your child needs and what your child wants and be able to respond according to that. This is my reference page, and thank you all for listening. And know that there is no right or wrong in regards to how you want to raise your child, but in regards to emotionally damaging your child, I do not believe that if used correctly, this would hurt or damage your child, especially in the future. Thank you very much.